Alright guys, I'm going to show you how to replace an axle on an old school Honda. We're actually going to go one step further after that. We're going to replace the outside CV boot. So part of this will be a disassembly of the axle, but start with, you're going to get this axle nut off. On older Hondas, it's going to be a 32 millimeter. Doing this on an 88 Honda CRX, so probably want it on the ground. Having a heavy duty impact wrench gun is probably the best way to get this off, because these are on with a lot of torque, and they've probably been on there for a long time. So get it off, you're gonna have to crank on it for a while and make sure it's going the right direction. So here we go. Well, if it doesn't come off, you either have to use a breaker bar. I'm going to spray some lube on it. So PB blaster's always good. And we'll let that soak for a minute.
Very boring minutes later.
Alright, let's try this again. Woo! There we go. Once you have it loose, just keep it on there a little bit, kind of finger tight. Then we'll jack up the car next. Alright, when I get these off, I have those. You just loosen them up for now, leave them on. Oh, this one's so hard to get out. There we go. Cancel that, I think it's let me see, maybe 19. How's this? I think it's 19. Yeah. Probably can take the little caliper assembly off, loose. Let's see here. Bolts in the back of this one are 17. Oh, man. Let's see, we're going to use this first. think these are torqued down with about 56 foot-pounds or something like that. So they might be a little stuck if you haven't had them off in a while. Pretty good size. I also have a thing holding the brake line on. You might want to loosen that up just so it's out of the way. Sometimes I'll put the bolts back in where they came out of just so I don't lose them and I know where they came from. That makes it easier because then I have less to keep track of bolt wise if I'm taking apart a bunch of stuff. So from there, probably want to get a hanger to hang this up so it's not not just dangling there. You don't want it to dangle by the brake line. So if you have a piece of wire, rope, or something like that, you can string it through here. And then you can hang it off the suspension somewhere. So it's up out of the way. There we go. You're also going to have to take the shock fork off because in order to get the axle out, it can't go through that space, and there's not enough space. So it should be a 14. Let me see. No. Let me see. It's a 17 on the bottom. You'll probably need a box wrench on one side, otherwise it'll just keep turning as you're trying to loosen up or loosen the nut off the back. Let me see, I think. Yeah, it must be a 14. Where's my 14? There it is. Let's see what I can do with this. again, I'm gonna put the nut on here so I know where it came from. And depending on how long you've had this on there, it may be really difficult to get off, but this is my track car, so things get inspected and deassembled a lot. Actually, I'm going to put this back on here. I'll use the whole thing. Alright. So now I take the rotor off since I got this off. I don't have to take the rotor off, but it just gives me a little more space to work and to see things, because I have to get that ball joint free. I think I'll just keep the screws in there. And then I just have the hub part here. This is always a tricky part, getting the ball joint free. The problem is, well, why we have to get it free is because we have to swing this out of the way, because there's not enough play in here to get the axle out of the hub assembly. I can only push it so far, this is not going to move. So a couple ways you can do this. I don't really recommend it too much, but you can. I'll take this castle nut, put it on backwards, until it's almost flush at the bottom threads here. Take a big hammer and knock it. That doesn't always work. I do have a ball joint separator, which I may get out. I just haven't had very good luck with it. It just seems to tear up the ball joint boot, but I may end up doing that. Let me try something here. Oh, it's loose. Yeah, sometimes you got all this weight pushing down. Sometimes you don't know that it's actually separated from the lower control arm, so it is separated. And I thought probably wouldn't take that many whacks to get it free. You may have a really hard time getting it free. You may end up having to use a ball joint separator, rent one. Maybe even using some heat to get it free. You know, there's can be a real pain sometimes. Alright, so that is free of the lower ball joint. I'm just gonna get the jack out of the way here. And we can push it all the way through and out. There you go. It is free, more or less. I need to get the inner part out. Hondas are awesome. They put these axles in with just a it's just like a friction type of where it holds it in. It's with a like a, I don't know what you call it. but it just snaps out. It's super easy if you can get the right place here. Just like that. Snap ring, that's what I was thinking of. And if it's a manual transmission, you shouldn't have to drain it. The fluid should be right up to the bottom of the axle here, so you should be good with just popping it out. I don't think that you'll lose much, if any, fluid in there. So the whole reason we're bringing this out is because there's a little hole, a little cut right here. So it looks like it's gotten a little bigger. I don't even know if you can see that, but that's where the grease has been coming out. It took me a while to figure out where it's coming out. And most of the time when you replace these, it's because the boot is split all the way around. It's deteriorating. You know, you can see this is in pretty good shape except for the hole. So I kept losing grease. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So what I have to do is disassemble this and take this boot off. I should also say, whenever you're working on a car, make sure you wear eye protection. I've had stuff fall in my eyes and it's not fun. Alright, so the kit comes with a couple clamps, C-ring, and grease. I tend not to use the grease that's in here because it's like an unknown origin. I usually use some good full synthetic grease. And unfortunately, because this is on the outside, I have to disassemble the whole thing because this has to come out and this slides off that end. So it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it's how it is. So I'm going to try to remove this one clamp. I don't know if this is going to be possible without damaging it. I might have to end up using using some new clamps to put it back together. Since this is just for a track car, I'll probably end up just using some zip ties. I'm not too concerned about it being completely sealed tight. Taking apart axles and boots can get really messy, so that's why I have a lot of paper down here. I'm just gonna pick it up like that. So you'll see why Gets really messy here. You got all this grease. I believe this is called a spider joint. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but so you see how much grease is in there? How much grease is here? We'll probably clean this up and put some newer grease in there, but in fact, I can't see what's going on. I need to clean up the grease here. Do that first. So, hey, more paper towel and trash can. So you just want to get all the grease cleaned up here so you can see what's going on. Because this assembly slides off the axle. It's been a while since I've taken apart one of these, so I'm trying to remember. So you just see clip here. This is also a good time to inspect the bearings and all that. Make sure everything looks okay. You don't have contamination, a bunch of dirt in here. It's not like there's metal to metal contact, stuff like that. So once you got that pretty well cleaned up, there's your C-clamp there. So you take some snap ring. Take your snap ring pliers. Hopefully you have snap ring pliers. And you separate it. And try to get it off. Easier said than done. Jeez. We have it mostly off here just now. Oh shoot, that one slipped. Let's see here. Definitely not the easiest thing. Well, just work it loose. And then want to put your thumb over the end, because when it comes off, it may try to take flight across the room. There we go. And when this comes off, may want to just put it into your assembly here so you don't lose it. And then this comes off with a lot of grease, and set that aside. And you get your axle end here. Kind of wipe some of the excess grease away. And now, work on this end. You can tell this is one I've replaced previously. Or maybe it was the inside. Either way, I've worked on this before. Now for this one. And we'll slide this off the end. And you can see there wasn't a whole lot of grease in there because it had been continually getting shot out the end, but everything looks good. You know, there's still grease, it's not dry. The joint's still in good shape. There's not any play in there really. So we will clean that up a little bit, repack it with grease, put the new boot on, put the belt or put the bands on, and we'll be all set to go. All right, once you get that all cleaned up, you're gonna repack it with grease. So I'll get a good handful of it. I'll get a couple fingers of it like that. Just start working it in to the joint here. Packing the bearings. Gonna keep moving that around, pushing it in. It is a very messy job here. And my dogs do not like my neighbors mowing the lawn. Hey. So I mean that's a pretty good amount. I mean you don't want to overpack it, but I'm gonna smear some in here too, just to get off my fingers too. off your fingers to get some of the excess off there. It's going to actually work. And we'll start the reassembly process. So and hopefully they sent me the right size boot. You know what? Why does that not fit right? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. It's the problem with aftermarket stuff. It's not the right size. So, I'm gonna have to go to the parts store and figure out what I need. Ugh. Yeah, that's definitely not gonna fit.
Three hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
Alright, back with hopefully the right CV boot now. Take this one off. Oh. Better fit. There we go. Much better fit. All right. All right. Through movie magic, I put the axle back together. Ta-da! All back together. All right, so we're gonna put this back together. Good thing about Hondas is they're very easy to repair. So when you put the axle back in, you just basically shove it in. There we go. And there it is. So simple. My Volkswagen, there's I think 6 bolts that are hex with some type of crazy ass plates. Oh my god, just doing that takes about 45 minutes. This 4 to 5 seconds. It's like, it's insane. And that's why we have the hanger. I think my daughter's come home. Had a crazy ass rainstorm earlier, so I didn't record because it was lightning and thundering like mad. And my daughter is home. Good music. You can put this on, just hand tighten it for now, just so the axle doesn't slip out. I mean, basically, assembly is the reverse of disassembly. And slip this on. Now there is a right way and a wrong way to put this thing on, but let me see here. Let's actually get the bolt in here first. Get the bottom bolt in. 47 foot-pounds for the bottom. I'm doing a video, Bella.
Oh, you are?
Uh-huh.
Time-lapse or?
No, just of repairing the axle and putting it back in.
Heck yeah. Trying to figure out where I'm gonna sleep tonight because the sofa upstairs is really uncomfortable.
Hold on. So, some more thunder. So the bottom one's 47. This one will be 32. I'm gonna get the castle nut on here. It's just hand tightened for now. And to get everything lined up, I'll do the same trick with the jack. I'll raise this up into place. I'll bring this part up into the shock. And this does have one way to go on. I mean, there's a if you haven't moved anything, the shock should be in the same place. There's a little indent in it. Those things don't seem to be going in very well. Let's see here. Shouldn't have moved. Yeah, let's see here. Lights. Not going on very easily here. It's not going on easy this one along, so I don't think the shock spun around, but you never know. See, it does turn pretty easy. So let's see here. Let's can't really see it where it is, but there is a groove in the back. Oh, it's over here. Wait a minute, is that it? All this stuff has to line up. Maybe that's it right there. I'm gonna double check this because I didn't double check it before. It's right there. Yeah, it did move a little bit, so you gotta make sure this little indentation in the shock is at the back, basically lined up with the split in the shock support, lower shock support. So maybe I should put this in first, at least find where it should go. There we go. Just wiggle it around until it fits right. I have to do this a different way. Much better. Knew something wasn't right. All right. So. I gotta get this lined up. That wasn't too bad. Sometimes that can be a pain to get that lined up. So this is 47 foot-pounds for this bottom part. No, that's the wrong one. Manual says you need to replace it, but I've never replaced this. I mean, it's a big bolt. I don't know, I've never had a problem with it. This one is 32. I'll find the right one for this. Probably pretty close right now. A few turns. There we go. Bottom castle nut needs to be tightened. That should be a, I think it's a 19. Look at the specs for that. It's always nice to have a manual that has everything in it. So, castle nut, 40 foot-pounds. So we will use our torque wrench here. What did I say, 40? Let's see babe, how far we have to go here. That wasn't too bad. We have to also get the cotter pin in there, so if it's not right where it needs to be, which I don't think it is, we're gonna have to turn in a little bit here. Actually, I have to do this. Cotter pins there just for extra bit of safety. Make sure that that is not going to come loose, because if this ever worked its way loose, this nut and this is separated from it, a very bad day. All right, so we can tighten that a little bit more. Pull the axle into the hub a little bit more here. So this is torqued tight, this is torqued tight. Didn't mess the rest of that stuff. Do the rotor next. These screws are really not 100% necessary, but I like them just when you're changing brake pads and stuff like that. If you have to mess with the caliper, the rotor's not flopping around there. But key to these screws are always make sure you use new ones when you replace them, and use some type of anti-seize on them. I have a bunch of anti-seize on there. It's still pretty good shape, so I don't over tighten these either. I just kind of give them a little snug fit. So the purpose of it is just so it doesn't, you know, it's not loose there. One thing I want to check was my brake pads. Brake pads look good. Want to make sure I had enough of the track for this next weekend. And I can now take this off. And put this back on here, hopefully. Pad slipped a little bit, so I'm having a hard time with this. There we go. Make sure if you have the caliper off, you don't hit the brake pedal, because if you do and the caliper's off, that piston's going to shoot out, and then you're going to have a problem. You have to, you know, figure out how to get the piston back in, rebuild it. All right. Usually I spray a little grease on this. I'm not going to this time. I'm just going to put it in for sake of time. And they're in good shape. They're not rusty or anything. Get these lined up. These are 56 foot-pounds. I knew there was something on here that was 56. I couldn't remember what they were. Oh, where's the back side? All right. So this is the 56 foot-pounds, approximately. Tightens down an extension on this, I think. These are just literally the bolts that hold on the whole caliper assembly with the back bracket. They hold it onto the I forget what this is called now. Well, actually, the hub assembly. All right. Double check your work. Make sure you didn't miss anything. We gotta reattach the brake line bracket here. A little bit of grease. When I had the problem with the axle, when it was spraying grease all over, grease got over everything, so kind of made a mess of a lot of this. And we know where our bolts are because we screwed them back in there, which is nice. And we'll put them back in there. This stuff does have a torque value, but I just hand tighten it until it feels right. It's not that critical for something like this. So. Just so it doesn't come loose and, you know, it's flopping around in there or something like that. So that's pretty much it. Well, except for this, we do need to torque this down. This does have a torque value. What I normally do is just crank the hell out of it until it doesn't move anymore. You might be able to see it. I also mark a lot of my stuff with paint, so I know if something moves. If the nut's starting to come loose, I'll know it. And there's some other stuff in there. I don't know if you can see, but you know, I had some problems with bolts backing out at one point, and so I started marking things to make sure that stuff wasn't moving on me. And that should do it. Actually, the screw started loose. A little bit tighter. And I am going to leave the wheel off because the next thing I have to do is bleed the brakes.